Hi, I'm Barbara Perry and I'm with Cape Cod CAN and I'm going to be your art instructor today. I'm so happy that you could join me. We're going to be making these beautiful seasonal paintings today. We've got one for each of the 4 seasons. What I love about living in Massachusetts, part of New England, is that we have changing seasons. So we have spring, summer, fall, and winter. You can make one painting or you can make all 4. I'm going to show you how to do this. You're going to need a little dish of water or a cup of water and some paper towels and your painting kit that you have. So once you have those things, come back and we'll get started. Right, you also have colors, little pots of paint. I want you to find the blue one first. You should have a foam tray, your paints. Let me show you what else you have. You have some saran wrap, crunched up in little balls. You either have a yellow or a blue sponge, a white sponge, a fork, a Q-tip. You should have 4 watercolor cards and this little tree stencil. So those are all your parts. When I paint, I often like to use household items, just things I find around the house. All right, you're going to take, not your white sponge, put your white sponge aside. You want your yellow or your blue sponge, and I want you to dip it in water and really squeeze it out. You just want it to be damp. Right now, I want you to find your blue paint and put that on your foam tray, like that. I'm going to dab my sponge. I'm just dabbing it like that, taking some of the paint off onto my tray. Right, I'm going to take one of the cards. We're going to do, if you're making 4 cards, we're going to do all 4 blue at once, okay? One at a time. And you just swipe across with your sponge like that. We're making the sky. It does not have to be perfect. It will be your sky. As your sponge begins to dry, the paint is going to get lighter. So you can decide if you want it to be like that, that's fine. It's easier if you put it down to work on it. I'm holding it up so you can see. Okay, so that's one. I'm going to dip again and squeeze my sponge so it's a little bit wet again. Same thing. Dip it in, tap it off. I'm going to start going right across. If you feel like your sponge is getting too dry and you want more paint, just put it back in the water, squeeze it out, and dip again into the blue paint. Just make sure you tap it off. The reason you tap it off on your foam tray is you don't want it to be all gloppy on your painting. All right, I'm going again. Tap, tap. Here comes my next sky. So I'm not being fussy. I'm just swiping across to make a sky. Can you see that? It will go pretty fast once you're working on this. Again, if you want to do just one, you can do just one. All right, all done. One more to go. I think I want this one maybe to be a little bit darker for the winter. So I'm going to use a little bit more paint. Yeah, see how that's darker? You will get paint on your hands. It will come off when you wash your hands. Okay, one more little swipe down here. Okay. All right, so you should have, if you're doing all 4 seasons, you'll have 4 cards painted blue. I'll wipe my hands a little bit. All right, I'm gonna find the one that's the most dry so I can show you how to do this next part. You want the blue to dry before you start this. They dry pretty fast. All right, I am going to put my tree stencil on just like that. I'm going to lay it down flat. It'll be easier for you to paint if it's flat. I want you to find your brown paint because we're going to be making the tree trunks and the branches. See how each one has a tree with branches? It's easiest to see on the winter one. All right, so you put a little brown paint on your tray like that. Now I'm going to take this white sponge. Don't wet it. We're all done with the water. Don't need the water anymore. All right, take this brown sponge. On the end, I'm going to dip it like that. Okay, I'm going to tap it a little bit on my tray. This is stenciling, and now I'm just going to tap right on top of my cutout. You can see how I'm doing that. And when I take it off, I'm going to have a tree. So you want to do that with all 4. Okay, while you have your brown paint and your sponge out, same thing. Line your tree up on your paper. Tap your brown paint on your tray and just start tapping right on your tree. You need to go back and get a little more paint, get a little more paint. Okay, when you take it off, you have your next tree. All right, 2 more to go. Again, you can pause this video anytime you need to for each step. Take your time doing it. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's see how this one came out. There we go, another tree. One more tree. Okay, just line it up. And dip your white sponge Okay, I think our trees should be about done. Okay, save that brown sponge. Just set it off to the side because we're going to use that for something a little bit later. But you can move your tree stencil off to the side because we're all done with that. So the first season we're going to do is spring. And in the springtime we see lighter colors as the trees start having their leaves come out and grass just starts coming up on the ground. I want you to look at your paints. You have 2 different colored greens. I want you to find the lighter color green. You're going to put that on your foam tray. Just a little dot. That's all you need. Okay, like that. And I want you to take your saran wrap. You're going to scrunch it up. Not too tight, leave it kind of loose, a little ball like that. And I am going to dip it in the paint and I'm going to tap it. And I always tap off the paint because you don't want a big globby mess on your painting. Okay. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to start making leaves. Just start pressing lightly, don't press hard. And I'm making some leaves on my spring tree. I think I also want a little grass. Well, before I do that, I'm going to take my brown sponge, I'm going to make some ground I just swiped it right across. See how I did that? I didn't even put it back in the paint. There's already paint on my sponge. Now I'm going to take the green and make a little bit of grass. Like that. Okay, so that's your spring tree. You can put as many leaves and as much grass as you want. It's your painting. Again, stop when you need to. I'm going to move on to summer. Now, summer has a lot more leaves and a lot more grass. So I want you to take, you have green, light green paint on your foam tray. I want you to get your darker green paint also. Let's see. Okay, so put some dark green down there too. The first thing I want you to do, again, take your brown sponge and just swipe a little bit. Make some ground. It's just a little swipe, that's all you do. All right, I'm going to take that light green paint again with that same saran wrap. I'm going to tap it into the light green, and I'm going to make some leaves again, because there's still some lighter color leaves even in the summer as things continue to grow. Okay, I'm also going to make a little bit of grass here. Now I'm going to take that same saran wrap and I'm going to dip it into the darker green paint and tap it. Okay, so I have this darker green paint right here. Just tap it. I'm going to add some darker green leaves. See how that's going? Because there are a lot more leaves in the summer. So they're going to be darker green. I think I'm going to tap a little on the bottom. All right, now to make some grass, I want you to look at how I did it here. I used a fork to make the grass. So I am going to swipe my fork into my tray, and then I'm just gonna keep swiping it, make some grass, and just press down with the fork like that. So the other thing you can do is go back and get some darker green. Make some more grass. So there you go. There's your summer tree. All right, moving on to the fall. Autumn, my favorite season. I'm gonna clean up my mess a little bit. Okay. All right, here we have autumn. We have lots of different colors for autumn. Here's my autumn tree. Again, I'm going to take my brown sponge and I'm going to swipe some ground here. Okay. Now the leaves start to change here in the fall. So we're going to use orange. So get your orange paint out. We also see yellow leaves. So you have some yellow or goldish yellow paint. So put that on your tray also. All right, I'm going to take, again, a piece of saran wrap. I'm going to dip it into the orange and really tap it off. And I'm going to make some nice autumn leaves. Maybe a couple fell on the ground. And once I'm done with that, I'm going to dip it into the yellow. Really tap it off. My tray's getting pretty messy now, but that's okay. And I'm going to make some yellow leaves. See how I did that? And a few on the ground. All right. Now I feel like that's a little too globby up there in the corner, so I'm just going to get some more orange and just tap it right on. Right, there's our fall tree. Aren't these fun? I love doing these. All right, now I'm going to do winter. For winter, you're going to need your Q-tip. And I just have to grab my white paint. Excellent. I'm going to take my brown sponge again. Let me show you my winter painting. Okay, there are no leaves on the trees. Here when we have our deciduous trees, all the leaves fall, so we just have bare branches. And I left a little bit of white on the bottom too, because it might be snowy. So I'm going to swipe my brown across the bottom so we have a little bit of ground. You have white paint in your kit. So I want you to put that on your tray. This part is really fun. You're going to take your Q-tip, dip it in the white paint, and you're going to make snowflakes. Keep going back to dip as many times as you need to. You could have a heavy snowstorm or you could have a light one. Maybe it's a blizzard. I'm also going to make a little snow on the ground. Like that. So that's the snow, the winter season. So when you're done, just set all your paintings aside. You can use these to put in frames, or you could attach them to a card and send them to somebody special. If you have a journal, you can put them in your journal. They're just a lot of fun to make. And you have some paints left, and I'm sure you have saran wrap around and forks, and you can continue to make different paintings on your own. Thanks so much for joining me today. This has been a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoyed making the 4 seasons with me today. Bye.